Over the years, there have not been many opportunities where we could, at the end of a night in May, say, Sixers win, Phillies lose. But yet that's what happened, literally, yesterday. Phillies finally lost what seemed like they hadn't lost in a week. And then the Sixers, for the first time in a long time, had a good day in the month of May. We'll get all that and more, plus more leakage of the Eagles' schedule coming out. And it's only a coincidence that Rob Motti had already agreed to come on tonight from the Associated Press, because we were going to talk about the NFL. But for those who might not remember, Rob is also a Baseball Hall of Fame voter. So it'll be interesting to get Rob's perspective on Pete Rose being made eligible again. We'll get into all that and more this hour. You guys can chime in on the conversation. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Rob Meyer will join us coming up in about 20 minutes from now. And maybe it's a good thing that tonight's Phillies game is rained out and they're going to have a day-night doubleheader tomorrow, because they did not look like they were really that focused offensively last night. Maybe they just needed an extra day. Now, obviously, I'm saying that a little bit tongue-in-cheek because, let's be realistic, the Phillies could have won the game last night. But the real winner last night wasn't the Phillies winning or losing. It was the Sixers being, frankly, the second luckiest team in the NBA. I mean, the Mavs had the fourth worst odds in NBA lottery history to win the first overall pick. But the second luckiest team was the Philadelphia 76ers. Why do I say that? NBA insider from ESPN, Brian Windhorst, said this on the Hoop Collective podcast.
Talk about a bailout for the Sixers and a jump up. And the big salaries they have, having a rookie scale contract would be very valuable there.
He's 100% right. It was a bailout. The 76ers had the most undesirable season of all time. They literally went out there and had everything go wrong for them. Everything along the way went sideways. It went wrong. Something didn't work. And then all of a sudden, they went out and got the third overall pick in the NBA draft. So first of all, we have to give Daryl Morey credit, okay, for as critical as people like myself have been of him at times. The one thing he has done well is make trades. And the Al Horford trade just paid off in getting the third overall pick in the NBA draft. You didn't have to give up the pick in the trade. You got to keep your pick. It all worked out. I don't think it's a coincidence that the first reaction we all had was initially relief. That the entire miserable several months of the Sixers season at least resulted in something. But as Kendrick Perkins pointed out last night on ESPN television, the pressure is now on Morey to get the pick right. Because remember, Morey has said, I've never picked in the lottery before. And Kendrick Perkins says, well, Daryl, the pressure is now on you to get it right.
Daryl Morey is on the clock, in my opinion. Like, you have Joel Embiid, who I believe is not going to be healthy for the rest of his career. You have a young superstar in Tyrese Maxey. Now you have the number 3 pick. You have Paul George. What are you going to do with this number 3 pick? Are you going to actually draft the player, or are you going to move and try to move some pieces to build? Because we all know this, and you know this, Kev.
Yeah.
This is about championships.
He's 100% right. It's about championships. It's the idea that if you are Daryl Morey, you're the 76ers, it's not good enough to just say, well, we got the pick. No, what are you doing with the pick? Because there are a plethora of players you could get at number 3, or you could trade it. You certainly could do that. Because if you believe, as the 76ers do, that they are trying to win right now, okay? If they are trying to win a championship, are they really going to get the most if they have a young player? Because remember, when Daryl Morey was asked about the idea of trading Embiid or Paul George, this is the answer he gave on the Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast.
A team calls asking about Joel or Paul George, saying for a trade of like, here's this, expiring contract and a couple picks. But is that something that the front office would consider moving on from and refocusing on the next generation, or?
We're committed to Joel and Paul. I mean, I guess that's what I would say.
If you're committed to Joel and Paul, then there is a legitimate possibility that you are not keeping that 3rd overall pick. Because it was Sixers head coach Nick Nurse, who was a guest on the Sports Bash today on 97.3 ESPN, who dropped this little note about the Sixers and who they might get. Because now Mike, first of all, I'll preface by saying, Mike asked a great question. He says, I know you're not going to tell me who you're going to pick, but is there a part of you that says, I'm excited to be with the guys who I could get? And Nick Nurse kind of slid this little comment in to the conversation to Mike Gill earlier on the Sports Bash.
But I think that in this slot, in this pick, you're going to get a player that needs to play and needs minutes and needs reps, and you just got to grow them as fast as you can, especially on a team like ours.
So you're not taking a project. If the Sixers pick 3rd overall, you're not picking a guy who's going to need time to develop and evolve and grow. You're picking a guy who's going to contribute right now. What's the conversation we've been having about the Eagles, right? The conversation about the Eagles has been, well, Makuba, is he your safety now? Campbell, is he to take reps away from Nakobe Dean? We look at the Eagles and we see these players as potential contributors immediately. And Nick Nurse is telling you that there's a similar mindset with the Philadelphia 76ers. So if they keep that pick, to me, that means that they view that player as a immediate day one contributor. Because if they don't keep the pick, boy, oh boy, the options are endless. Josh Hennick here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. So that was the big Sixers news last night. The other part of what Nick Nurse told Mike Gill on the Sports Bash, and I was very, very intrigued by this answer, is when Nick Nurse spoke about Paul George. Paul George has drawn an incredible level of negative feedback from the fan base. Tons of negative energy. And Nick Nurse verbalized Paul George's value to the 76ers this way earlier today with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash.
Loved some of the things that George brought, especially defensively. Last year, I think he's a really good player. I think he's really smart. And I think that, maybe he doesn't score as much as he used to back in his prime, but he's still a really good shooter. He can get shots off because of his 6'9" frame.
That doesn't sound like a coach who looks at Paul George as the number 2 player on this team. That sounds more like a guy who's the number 3 player. I think this organization looks at Tyrese Maxey as an ascending star. And they are not overlooking Joel Embiid's return to an MVP level. Now, if that view is maybe misguided, we can have that conversation. But it sounds to me like the 76ers are looking at the 3rd overall pick as an opportunity to make their team better, whether that's by trading it or drafting a player at that spot. But they draft a player at that spot, it's going to be a guy, as Nick Nurse said, needs to get minutes. All right, before we hit timeout here on 97.3 ESPN, the Eagles news that popped off this morning. We now have the 4th game on the Eagles schedule. We're basically at almost 25% of the Eagles schedule is already out. So yesterday we heard about Dallas, right? Dallas opening night. Now we know November 10th at Green Bay. Black Friday, November 28th at home versus Chicago. Add that to knowing that part of the Fox doubleheader on December 20th, Eagles and Washington. And I don't think it's a coincidence that these games have come out like this, because the NFL is clearly telling you that the Philadelphia Eagles are a commodity team. I know there's a lot of you season ticket holders who are unhappy right now with all of these primetime games, to which I have to explain to you, this is the consequences of winning championships. You go to 3 Super Bowl appearances in the last 8 years. You win 2 of those 3. This is what happens. You're going to get the extra Black Friday, Saturday, December 20th games. It's going to be part of the deal. Now, I do think it's interesting that the NFL decided to squash any speculation of the Eagles playing on Christmas after people like myself were trying to connect the dots yesterday. But it still feels like an odd schedule. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist when it comes to the NFL schedule, but I do think it's very odd that you could have opened the season with anybody and you picked Dallas. That felt like a weak move. You're playing the Bears, an up-and-coming team, on Black Friday at 3 p.m. Home game, by the way. All right, a little odd. Maybe it's an opportunity for all of you to get away from your family the next day after Thanksgiving, for some of you Eagle fans. But the at Washington on Saturday, December 20th, is actually a pretty cool idea, because if you want to schedule a weekend away, you could build it around that game. But the other 3 games, still have a lot of questions. Last time the Philadelphia Eagles were in Green Bay, Jordan Howard ran all over the Packers. The last time the Eagles opened the season against Dallas, Deuce Stanley ran all over Dallas. Could this be a good omen that Saquon Barkley's going to have another big year in 2025? All those questions and more. We'll talk with Rob Motti from the Associated Press next. Josh Hinnick hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
It's Bennett Chevrolet's Memorial Day blowout with prices that won't be beat. That's right, Bennett Chevrolet selling new Chevys at GM supplier employee prices. And you keep all the rebates, saving you as much as 20%. Who else can make an offer this good? Nobody. That's who. Get to Bennett Chevy's Memorial Day blowout all this month and save up to 20% on new vehicles with GM supplier employee pricing. And you keep all the rebates. Plus, you'll save even more with Bennett's available 0% financing. And if you're looking for your best deal on pre-owned, Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for any trade, no matter the mileage or condition. You'll get at least 10 grand towards any pre-owned. Imagine how much more Bennett pays for a good trade. And there's no need to negotiate. Never any haggles or hassles, because our non-commissioned sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. You know, smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or in third-party delivery platforms.
With Progressive, renters can save on protection for the things that make your place yours, even things that don't make sense to everyone.
People always wonder why I don't get rid of my guitar since I never play. But it's like, what if I actually end up taking lessons? Sure, I've had it for 8 years, but if I get rid of it, then what will my New Year's resolution be next January?
Exactly. So bundle your renters and auto and save with Progressive and protect the things that make sense to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers not available in all states or situations. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions.
As America's leading business lender, Bank of America is on your corner and in your corner. With over $5 billion in business loans and more than 90 business specialists right here in New Jersey, we help businesses thrive so communities prosper. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA Club World Cup 2025. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/radio, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
O'Reilly. Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
From the Townsquare, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zero. The wettest period of the week looks to be tonight. A band of steady to heavy rain will make for a potentially soggy overnight for you. Low temperature dips to 62. A rainy start to tomorrow, but that'll break apart to just scattered showers around through the afternoon. Still dreary and cool, high 65. Peaks of sun, chance of a thunderstorm on Thursday, 74. About the same Friday, high 81. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Hello, I am Scott, branch manager with Viking Pest. For over 40 years, Viking has been your shield against pests. Now we're leading the charge with Viking Green, our eco-friendly, low-impact pest control solution. Protect your home with Viking. Visit VikingPest.com to learn more.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Check out the text board real quick before we chat with Rob Motti from the Associated Press here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm chuckling because Chris in the Villas chimed in and says, Josh, I would love it to be nothing better than dropping Dallas week one in a big way. And listen, I'm not necessarily predicting that. I think a lot of Eagle fans would love that, but I don't think it's a coincidence that when it comes to sports, that history can repeat itself, right? I'm just saying, Deuce Stanley, the last time they opened the season against the Cowboys, ran all over them for 200 yards. Dallas hasn't really improved their defense that much this offseason. You're telling me that Dallas all of a sudden is going to stop Saquon Barkley? Just putting it out there into the universe. And again, Green Bay Packers. Last time you played Green Bay in a primetime game, Jordan Howard ran all over them. I think Saquon is better than Deuce Staley and Jordan Howard combined. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some big games from Saquon in those situations. Just putting it out there into the universe. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joining me right now on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, how much can you not wait until 10 o'clock tomorrow night to actually look at a legitimate schedule instead of these pieced together ones?
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's funny because it's like so much hype, man, and so much interest around a schedule release. And I think it'll be 8:15, 8:20 that the full thing comes out, and then you get to digest it. You get to look at a lot of the games where I start looking at how I plan my week, my trips, my travel, my holidays. Like a lot of that is a big part of it for so many people involved with the schedule and with the NFL, and from reporters who cover teams, beats, and everything. It's funny how some people root, like you don't want a home game maybe on, depending on what your travel looks like, you don't want a home game on a Thanksgiving or a Christmas, or in some cases, some people might. So it's cool. It's exciting. It's wild that the NFL can generate so much, Josh, attention just by releasing games, and the way that they're doing it, a little bit here on Monday, a little bit on Tuesday. Tomorrow, they're going to start with a CBS is going to release something on CBS mornings. Then I think is it Prime Video later on in the day, and then
Netflix.
And then finally
Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix later. Oh, even greater. So you got then later on at night it's going to be the full thing. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting it when I get it, so I can put everything together. So I'm not waiting till 8:15.
Listen, I got to tell you, I think Amazon, just as a side note, they are really smart right now because they didn't just pick the Eagles and Bears as they didn't just get that game for Black Friday. Rob, they're going to have an NBA doubleheader after the Eagles and Bears on Amazon Prime. So literally they're saying NFL is going to lead in to our forgotten about NBA coverage that we paid for. It's a really smart move by Amazon.
Yeah, it is. Imagine the NFL as an appetizer. Like the NFL's leading in into. I didn't realize. Do they have? They don't have the NBA games obviously announced yet, or what?
No, they don't have the games announced, but they announced that they're going to have the NBA doubleheader after the Eagles Bears game. So they've already kind of put it out in the universe.
Smart strategy. That's definitely smart strategy for Amazon. And the Eagles Bears on Black Friday is pretty cool, pretty interesting. I just think back to the Eagles Bears on New Year's Eve, the Fog Bowl. Like that to me was a big memory in my childhood, was like how the Fog Bowl ruined a New Year's Eve in my life, and however old I was, and now it's a Black Friday. Like Black Friday is one of my Thanksgiving, Black Friday, my favorite time of the year as you start getting ready for Christmas and all of that stuff. And here we go, a little bit more football. They are going to do what? They're going to have the 3 games on Thanksgiving, so we'll find out soon enough what they will be and who's playing on Thursday night.
Now, Rob, I got to ask you, because the big news yesterday was opening night, Eagles, Cowboys. And, Rob, I thought it might be the Lions or even maybe the Bears, right? Or maybe, one of those teams like the Rams. They played the Rams. The Rams were the only close game for the Eagles the entire postseason run, right? Like, they had so many options. Like, I got to ask you, like, why do you think the NFL is I hate saying this way, they're almost wasting an Eagles-Cowboys primetime game on opening night. I don't understand. Like, to me, did Jerry Jones ask him a favor? Did the NFL say, we know George Pickens is going to destroy this team by the end of the year, so we got to get Cowboys on primetime early in the year? Like, I obviously say that little jest, but like, what is the reason why the NFL would say, yeah, Eagles-Cowboys opening night, which always gets good ratings, without Eagles and Cowboys?
I'm with you. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Like, you could play the Eagles against anybody first game of the season, and everyone's aching and dying for some football, and it's going to get all the ratings. It's the first game of the season. It's the unveiling of the championship banner at the link. You're right. To me, it's a waste of a Cowboys-Eagles rivalry game that's better off played in November and December. You got to have one of their games towards the end of the season, and then you have to have the other one, I think, no earlier than October, mid-October. That's kind of where Eagles games should be, unless they feel like the Cowboys are going to suck so bad like they did last year, that the only way to get an Eagles-Cowboys game to be relevant is to play it week one. But while I don't think that the Cowboys had such a great offseason that they're going to be contenders for the NFC East, I think if they stay healthy, if Dak's healthy, if Pickens doesn't blow up, which you alluded to, and they can be a playoff contender to the point where October, November, December matchups matter. So they had a lot of options. I thought Rams would have made so much sense from the standpoint of the playoff game. Rams, Eagles, West Coast, East Coast. Like, it made too much sense. I'm baffled by it. I haven't cared enough to ask too many questions, but now that you raise it up, I might. I got to get to the bottom of it, because I don't now. Now I want to know, like, why are you putting the Cowboys Eagles week? Well, we haven't seen it since Pickle Juice game, and what was it, 2002? Yeah, it was a 2000 season.
2000. Yeah, dude. Deuce Staley ran all over the Cowboys, and Pickle Juice was a big thing for 1 week.
Yeah, every quarter century, you're gonna have the Eagles Cowboys week one. All right.
By the way, I did a little research ahead of time for this, Rob. Do you know the last time? So, you know, the Cowboys did make the playoffs last year. They had a losing record last year. The last time a team with a losing record the year before was put on opening night against the Super Bowl champion, do you know the answer?
I want to say the Lions Chiefs, but I think the Lions. No, I think the Lions finished strong that year. They might have been 2-7 and went 9-7.
You are correct. Your memory is not failing you. You are correct. They finished the year
Lions,
strong.
Chiefs. Yeah, I don't know.
You're a couple years off there. It was actually the aforementioned Dallas Cowboys played the Tampa Bay Bucks and Tom Brady to start the 2021 season.
I covered that game. I was here. That was my first year in Tampa. First game. That's right. Yeah. And I think that was like a really low scoring game.
Yeah, it was ugly. I remember you and I talked about it afterward, because you were saying, you were expecting, Brady and Dak to go for a shootout. And then you said, you're looking around and like, why have we only scored 19 points in this game?
Yeah. I remember that. That was wow. That was a season opener. That was when the Bucks came off their championship.
Yeah.
And I think the Bucks then faced the Cowboys in week one the following year in Texas on a Sunday night game, and won that game like 12-3 or 9-3, something. Yeah, that would have been Brady's final season.
Well, let's see here.
Yeah, that would have been Brady's final season.
2022 would be Brady's final season. Yeah,
that was, 2022 week one.
19-3.
19-3.
19-3.
Okay. I know, because I was at the Commanders Jacksonville opener. Carson Wentz threw 4 touchdowns against Doug Peterson, and then I'm driving to get to my hotel, and I hadn't selected one, so I randomly selected a place in Delaware, a Westin, just so I can get to the kickoff in time.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to get to Jersey and couldn't make it, so I was like, all right, pulling over here on 95. Gonna go in. I got to get to watch kickoff. Cowboys. Yep. Wow.
Yeah,
Good
you regretted that one immediately.
Yeah. 19-3. Yeah, Mike Evans made a nice touchdown catch. All right, look at this. Yeah, this is where we are, Josh, in the point of the NFL season where we're looking at the schedule and then we're reminiscing about other games.
Rob Motti joining us here on 97.3 ESPN, AP senior NFL writer. Of course, you can follow him on the Twitter X platform at Rob Motti. With the Eagles, let's move away from that for a minute because I got to ask you about the news over the weekend. Derek Carr, the sudden retirement. I mean, when I saw Mike Garafolo sitting on like his steps doing a video on Twitter explaining the news, like it was like the most like unofficial breaking news I'd ever seen in my life on a Saturday morning. And like Garafolo just like sits down, like, all right, let me explain this to everybody. I was like, oh no, what's going on here? And like, I gotta tell you, Rob, I'm shocked that Derek Carr basically said, I don't want to get the surgery. I'd rather just retire, walk away with $10 million and call it a career.
Yeah, it was strange because we had been hearing some reports and some speculation about the severity of the shoulder injury for about 2 or 3 months now, to the point where there was thought that the Saints may have to have they may be without Derek Carr for an extended period of time this season, or he might be able to play, or they might look for a different solution at quarterback. But it is rare that you see someone decide to not do the surgery, not try and continue. You leave a lot of money on the table, a lot of future money that he can continue to make. Derek Carr's he's not an all-pro level quarterback, but Derek Carr is also not a bottom tier quarterback. He has never won a playoff game. I know the knocks against him, but also you look at overall in totality, his career, he's put up some good numbers. If he's in the right system, surrounded by the right guys, he played really well with John Gruden. And unfortunately for him, one year he led him to the playoffs and then he got knocked out towards the end of the season. He couldn't play in that playoff game, but it's surprising to me that he won't go through with that. I know he's a big family man. I know he's a guy who could probably end up, Josh, going into some sort of, whether it's ministry work or being a speaker who goes around talking about his faith. He does a lot with one of the churches that he's involved with. So I think when you look at it from that standpoint and that perspective, a family man who's grounded in his faith, his identity isn't in sports. His identity doesn't rely or lay in whether he wins a championship or not. He's comfortable enough knowing who he is and whose he is that he's able to walk away from the game at this point in his career. He certainly doesn't need any more money, whether you have 100 or 200 million. Yeah, I think you're pretty much set for life. And so is the next generation and a generation after that, and a generation after that of the Carr family. So I think that kind of gives a little bit of perspective, knowing how important his family and his faith are. But still, to me, I'm surprised anytime you see something as sudden as that, because there are some, obviously surgery was an option, but there was no guarantee that surgery would fix what he's got going on.
Yeah, it's just wild because my mind went back to Drew Brees. You remember almost 20 years ago, he had that surgery, and teams like the Miami Dolphins medically failed him. Remember, Rob? And it was like, now to almost 20 years later, guys even want to go try, going down that path. And it's just, and by the way, both guys, second round draft picks who were, Christian men. So there's a lot of parallels there with the two guys. I'm not saying that Derek Carr would have become a Hall of Famer, but
Drew was earlier in his career. So
true.
And I don't like at that point, Drew hadn't made the kind of money, and he still was trying to accomplish a whole lot more. In Derek's case, he's played 11 seasons, and that's a long time in the NFL. That's a lifetime in the NFL. So, but yeah, it's still odd when you think about it.
A couple more before I let Rob Motti go from the Associated Press. I got to touch on with you. I got to ask you about this. I loved your story about Shiloh Sanders over the weekend because, he talks about, I'm going to be the snack guy for the safety room. The young man's perspective for being the overlooked of the Sanders sons, right? and he walks in. He already has the awareness that, like, I'm not the guy. I'm going to have to earn my spot. I got to go out here and put in the work and do whatever it takes. It was just refreshing to see that because, a lot of people have said a lot of negative things about the Sanders kids. And, and you're finding out now that they're in camp, right? Now that they're, away from, for lack of a better term, the bubble of Colorado, right? That, you're seeing Shador, he's spending time doing charity work. Shiloh's putting in the work, helping the younger guys than him who are at rookie camp. Like, it's just refreshing to see that, for all the media hoopla that, Shiloh and his brother they're putting in work. They're not just showing up for pictures and autographs.
I was impressed, yeah, for sure, with Shiloh because, well, one, he came in, he shook everybody's hand, and it just showed a little bit of a level of respect. I mean, he's 25 years old. He's a 25-year-old undrafted free agent. I think he understands what reality is for him and what a challenge it's going to be for his NFL career. He's not just going to be able to walk out there and because he's Deion Sanders' son, make a roster. The Buccaneers aren't going to hand him anything. He's got to go out there and earn it. And he's got just a humble demeanor about him. He sounded so much like Deion, man. Just a little bit of his mannerisms, just a few of the things that he would say. Like I'm watching him, listening to him, standing right there, and like he just reminded me of his dad, which obviously often it happens. I heard someone say a couple days later, I forget where it was, maybe it was somebody posting it on Twitter or somewhere else. If Shador had Shiloh's personality and Shiloh had Shador's personality, how could that have impacted the draft? Could Shador have been a first-round pick, and could Shiloh have been could he have gone in day 3? It's interesting to me that some people have looked at that and made that kind of correlation. Like maybe Shador going into the draft needed a little bit more of Shiloh's humble nature in him, and maybe that could have helped him go where he had thought he could go, and maybe Shiloh could have had a little bit more of that confident swagger that Shador has, and it would have helped him get selected. But either way, at this point, doesn't matter. They're both getting their opportunity, and it's odd watching what's happening in Cleveland because you got Shador. Dylan Gabriel's a third-round pick. Nobody's really talking about him, and he was picked ahead of Shador. And, of course, they still got Joe Flacco in there who we know what he did for them 2 years ago, but that's going to be really one to watch. And normally you wouldn't pay much attention to the Cleveland Browns, but now the Cleveland Browns quarterback room is certainly an interesting one to monitor.
You forgot about Kenny Pickett's there, too.
Yeah, on purpose, because I don't think Kenny Pickett is his starting quarterback in the NFL. Doesn't mean he can't give you. He filled in for Jalen Hurts last year. He can get you through, but he's going to need a lot of help around him. I just don't think that Kenny Pickett is going to be a long-term solution. And of course, they still got Deshaun Watson. That they as the owner Jimmy Haslam said, would they swing and a miss or whiff or whatever? They got to resolve that situation at some point.
Well, my favorite part of that was when Haslam said, me and D, when we made the decision to bring in Deshaun Watson, all I could think of was, D sitting there breaking down tape. Get out of here, Jimmy. Like, D wasn't involved.
Throw your wife under the bus, Jimmy. That's not cool, man. Let's go. But take the blame. You should take the blame yourself. I wonder what how that plays out though. Like if I know my relationship with my wife, if I put her in a conversation and I'm taking blame for something, she's probably not going to want to be part of it. But if I'm taking credit for something, she's going to want to be part of it. Wonder how that played over later on in the day.
Yeah, that I can only wonder. Rob, I gotta ask before I let you go. You are a Baseball Hall of Fame voter, and the news came out today about Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson all of a sudden being taken off of the ineligible list. So, for you, was that as a voter, is that surprising? Do you kind of feel like, why now? Like, is there and we lost Rob Motti. He was there and he disappeared. I ask him the big question and he disconnects. It's funny how that works. Obviously, he didn't do it on purpose. Rob's not the kind of person. He would have just told me, Josh, I can't answer that question. We'll see if we can get him back here on 97.3 ESPN. This happens sometimes. Let's see if we can get him back here. Just give me 1 second, folks. Because I want to get his perspective because, he is one of the few Hall of Fame voters who is not one of the few, but if there's 420 voters, he's only one of the half of them that's honest about his voting. So I was going to ask him about, how does someone like him feel as a transparent voter about two guys who, frankly, are the most infamous people who's ever been voted for. All right, he's having connection issues. But to me, it's a big part of the conversation. It's not just, hey, Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson are now eligible. But it's also about the, it's also about the idea, are the voters going to legitimately consider them? So it looks like I don't know if we're going to be getting him back on here. So just give me 1 second, folks. Josh and Nick here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. Here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. I got the dots going. He's typing something to me. Something's happening on my phone. Because the big deal with Pete Rose is, and you know what? Give me 1 second, folks. Yeah, we're gonna try to get Rob on here because he says he was willing to talk about that. Because he says his internet zapped, whatever that means. So we'll see if we can get Rob on here to answer that question because there's two sides to this. One is the Baseball Hall of Fame is a museum. It's not church. There's not a morality clause going on here. It's the idea that I think we got Rob here. So, Rob, is that you? You got me there?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we got to get into this because you are a Baseball Hall of Fame voter, and I was asking before your internet, as you call it, zapped on you. So as a voter, seeing the news about Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, is there a party that's like, why now? Where did this come from? Finally, you were going to give these guys a legitimate vote. Like, what was your reaction to this?
Yeah, at first I wanted to understand what that's going to look like. Would I see Pete Rose or Shoeless Joe on my ballot next year? And that's not the case. The case is it goes to whatever election committee they call it. It is a selection committee, like the veterans. However it looks like, it's not going to be where I or any other voters are going to be able to be on there. It'll be the next Classic Baseball Era Committee. So that's who will make that determination. Oh, and I think Mike Schmidt weighed in on this already, Josh. Did you see that? And he said that it will be in the next one. So I'm not sure how often they do that. The next one, would that be this fall?
Yeah, it's every fall. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was initially like, all right, how does it impact the ballot? Because the ballots, I've thought the ballot's been over the past several years, because a lot of the guys that I like and I feel like belong in the Hall of Fame are still on the ballot for one reason or another, most of them because of the steroid era and the PED implications, and they're still on the ballot. I thought this would further load the ballot, but to me, both guys certainly belong in the Hall of Fame for what they accomplished on the baseball field. Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, and their fate will be decided. Now, I wonder if the committees are going to make their families wait even another year or however that goes. But it's long overdue. It's something that I thought needed to be rectified. It finally is. It's interesting how it was worded by the commissioner in that, well, Pete Rose is deceased, so he's no longer a threat to baseball. Was he a threat to baseball last year when he was still alive? Was he a threat to baseball 2 years ago? I think they had to search for terminology that would allow them to go back and change some of the whether it's Shoeless Joe Jackson, Pete Rose, guys who have been banned, who are no longer alive, that they can put them in and then make it all fit into kind of one paragraph, a little addendum or amendment.
Yeah, it definitely feels a little weird because before I let you go, because I wanted to ask you this, one of the conversation points I've heard people talk about is, well, Pete Rose never bet against his team. You know what I mean? Like, Pete always bet that his team was going to win. And Shoeless Joe Jackson, you could argue he was trying harder than anybody else to win the 1919 World Series. So, there's almost a part of you that's like, yeah, they broke the cardinal rule of baseball, but they were still trying to win. And I don't know why baseball never, acknowledged that.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, baseball, any kind of gambling is banned and should be and should always be, where you shouldn't be able to bet on your sport. But I wonder if there was some concern about the accuracy of all of that and how that played out. Pete supposedly never bet on the Reds to lose. It was always to bet on his team to win. So he's going to manage accordingly and make decisions accordingly. But it wasn't addressed, and at this point they're not going to address it. But maybe that'll still end up being something that when the conversations are taking place with the Classic Era Baseball Selection Committee, that's going to be on the table and talked about. But it certainly seems like it's going to eventually end up with the all-time hits leader being in the Hall of Fame of baseball. And at some point, I would hope that the all-time home run champion will be in the Hall of Fame of baseball because he hit more home runs, Barry Bonds, than anyone else who ever played. And Roger Clemens, who was one of the greatest pitchers of our lifetime, should end up in the Hall of Fame as well at some point. So hopefully all of that gets fixed and gets resolved. But first things first, it starts now with Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe.
I've said for years, Rob, it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Morality. There's a lot of people in that hall who are not great people, but for some reason we draw the line at gambling, but not at other things. But that's a conversation for another day. Rob Motti from the Associated Press, at Rob Motti on Twitter X platform. Also, Faith on the Field. He is the co-host Saturday and Sunday mornings right here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, thanks for calling in after your, as you called it, your internet zapped.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, and I apologize. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Josh Hennick here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN. I'm glad we can make that work. I wanted all of you to hear from a guy who's a voter, his perspective, where he was like, you heard him say it, I'm glad that he's not on the regular ballot because now he's not going to take votes away from other guys. And that is going to go to the Veterans Committee. He's right. When guys like Schmidt are saying what they're saying, former Phillies great Mike Schmidt, it's a clear sign that they're probably going to push Pete Rose and Shoeless Jackson through the Veterans Committee. So then what's going to happen is, it's not going to be as controversial. It's going to be pretty straightforward that, yeah, these guys are going to get in. No, it's not going to be controversial. No, there's not going to be any other riffraff going on. So a very interesting perspective there from also, aside from covering the NFL, he is a Baseball Hall of Fame voter because of all of his years covering the Phillies and Major League Baseball for the AP here in Philadelphia. That's Rob Motti. I'm Josh Hennick. We'll wrap up the Power Hour, known as Game Night, on the other side here on 97.3 ESPN.
For over 135 years, First Bank of Sea Isle City has proudly served Cape May County with a commitment to maintaining a hometown feel. We provide secure, convenient deposit and loan products every day. We're more than just a bank. We're a trusted community partner, offering personalized banking solutions that make life easier for local families of all ages. First Bank of Sea Isle City. Look for our lighthouse in your neighborhood and discover what makes us different.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Business owners everywhere are raving about ZipRecruiter's new feature, Zip Intro, which does the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates to meet with you as soon as the next day. So we decided to call up some of these employers and hear their stories. Today, we're on the phone with Pilates studio owner Crystal M. Harris. Crystal, how has Zip Intro helped you hire?
Well, I was opening a Pilates studio in McDonough, Georgia, and I needed to staff up quickly. Zip Intro did the work for me. It helped me find enthusiastic candidates who matched my qualifications perfectly.
That's great.
Yeah, I had my Zip Intro session on Tuesday, did all the interviews by Thursday, sent out the offers on Friday, and they started on Monday. Because Zip Intro did most of the work, I saved so much time.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, you can try Zip Intro for free right now at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/radio, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Stylin'. Or possibility number 24, the latest software. Upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
And 62225. New customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to Bundle Deal Days at AutoZone.
Well, I do need a bundle of things.
When you bundle, you save.
Do I save if I bundle oil with an oil filter?
Save up to $12 on that bundle.
What about brake pads and rotors?
Bundle those and the brake pads are free.
Can't save more than free.
You can save on hundreds of deals during Bundle Deal Days. Ends June 2nd at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply. Duralast brake pads only.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment.
Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Step into softness with the carpet upgrade from the Home Depot. Our stylish choices and simple prices make selecting new carpet simple. With our total project price match guarantee and installation starting just 49 cents per square foot, nobody beats our prices. Enjoy our everyday low prices on carpet with the softness and durability to take on anything life throws its way. Refresh with new carpet today from the Home Depot. Base price for standard installations only. Exclusions apply. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
Here in New Jersey, it's one wow after another, after another, after another. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zero. If you're ready for a hiking adventure packed with views, nature, and fresh air, it's time to hit the Appalachian Trail. Yes, the Appalachian Trail, right here in New Jersey. We've got 72 miles of scenic stretches, winding through forests, past lakes, and up to wow-worthy vistas. Snap some post-worthy pics, breathe deep, and find your own trail magic right here in the Garden State. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
So according to a report from NBC News, Pete Rose will be eligible to be voted on in December 2027. I mean, they are dragging this thing out. I don't really understand what the wait is. I feel like what you're doing is you're just, you're beating a dead horse. Like you're trying to punish someone who's not even alive anymore. For what? And don't tell me it's the integrity of the game. If you cared about the integrity of the game, there's a lot of things baseball would do differently. Dan from EHC, you get the final word. He says the Sixers are like the Cowboys. An accident waiting to happen. Hope that's not true. Thanks, Dan EHT. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
You have the choice, whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant. Those choices help to put money back into your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts a spotlight on local restaurants.